gentlemen, please rise for our guest of honor, Mrs. Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya, leader of the Democratic Belarus. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May I ask you to please remain standing. To mark the beginning of the opening ceremony of the Mario Soares promotion 2020-2021 here at the College of Europe in Natolin, may I invite the choir conductor, Mrs. Katarzyna Boniecka, and the Natolin choir to join us here near the stage to perform the European anthem. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. My name is Mattia Filippin. I'm responsible for the communications here at the College of Europe in Natolin, and it is my pleasure and delight to be your Master of Ceremony today. May I now invite the Vice Rector of the College of Europe, Mrs. Eva Śniecka-Tamecka, to open officially today's ceremony. Thank you.
Dear Ms. Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya, dear Rector Federica Mogherini, who is with us in Rouge, dear professors, dear guests, and dear students of the Mario Soares promotion. It is my privilege and honor to welcome all of you at the opening ceremony of the academic year 2020-21 here at the Natolin campus of the College of Europe. Today, our guest of honor is Mrs. Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya, the leader of the Democratic Belarus. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to deliver today's key address to our students. We are very grateful for your coming and for delivering the speech. Dear guests and dear students, we will begin today's opening ceremony with a film about Mário Soares, patron of this academic year, a face of a changing Portugal, a man who had a beautiful and deep understanding of hope, strength, and resilience.
De paz e de estabilidade no mundo conturbado dos nossos dias.
Mário Soares is the patron of the College of Europe in the academic year of 2020-2021. Born in 1924, Mário Soares was a fundamental political figure of Portugal's transition to democracy after the April Revolution in 1974, decisively shaping the history of Portugal and Europe. A lawyer and professor, Mário Soares stood against the dictatorship of the Estado Novo, was arrested a dozen times, deported, and exiled. Founder and Secretary General of the Portuguese Socialist Party, Vice President of the Socialist International, Minister, Prime Minister, and President of the Portuguese Republic. He was also a member of the European Parliament and President of the European Movement, Chairman of the Committee of Wise Persons of the Council of Europe, the Committee for the World Water Contract, and the Commission on Religious Freedom. He was also the mentor of the Independent World Commission on the Oceans. With a solid humanist background, he defined himself as a Republican, socialist, secular, Portuguese, Europeanist, and citizen of the world. His life was a constant and persistent fight for the values and causes he believed in, among which the defense of freedom and democracy was foremost. After the 1974's April Revolution, Mário Soares started formally in 1977 and led the process of Portugal's accession to the European Economic Communities. In 1985, also as a Prime Minister, he signed Portugal's Treaty of Accession to the European Communities, which he understood as an indispensable step for the integration of Portugal in an extended space of freedom and development.
Futuro que desejamos solidário e de unidade.
Mário Soares left us a vast political work, reflecting on the issues that shaped the world, pointing out paths, warning about dangers, voicing disapproval, expressing hope, and encouraging dialogues. Mário Soares has always been a great European thinker. In the last years of his life, he prevented and alerted with extreme lucidity for the dangers overshadowing the European project, reinforcing the importance of remaining true to its founding ideals, especially the need for solidarity between its members in the construction of an extended space of freedom and social development. Here's to Mário Soares, Portuguese, humanist, Europeanist, builder of the European Union.
now it is my real pleasure to announce the address of Rector Federica Mogherini, joining us today from Bruges. I have to admit that while preparing myself to today's ceremony, I kept remembering Rector Mogherini's words and message to the students during the opening of the academic year in Bruges 1 week ago. She said, "Do what is right, not what is easy." This message was very inspiring. Dear Federica, the stage at Natolin is yours.
Thank you very much, Eva. I hope you can see and hear me. Let me first of all thank and express all my gratitude to our guest of honor today. Svetlana, thank you very much for having accepted our invitation in such a complicated and difficult time, not only for the global pandemic, but also for your country and your role. I am very much looking forward to hear your message to the students that I'm sure will also be a message to all of us. Let me also thank the Vice Rector, Eva, if I can, my dear friend, Eva, not only for the sisterhood that we have established in these first months of common work together in difficult times, probably the most difficult beginning of an academic year at the college, but also for having made this opening in Bruges possible and for having made possible the connection last week, exactly 1 week ago, between the Natolin campus and the opening in Bruges, where we were honored to have the President of Portugal as a keynote speaker. I think that that moment of unity of the two campuses spoke more than 1,000 words about the famous principle of having two campuses and one college. I think that back then and today again, we are one. We are showing the pride and the dedication of all students, all staff, and for sure the two of us, Eva and myself, in trying to make the most of this experience for all students that have joined the college, the family of the college, this year. This year is a special one. We have, for sure, a complicated logistical setup, let's put it this way, to face, a mix of in-presence and online teaching. But what I see is a body of extremely dedicated students, very much aware of the fact that this is for them the chance of their lives to enter a network that is unique and that stays unique, even in a moment where the global pandemic is changing and challenging the paradigms of our role as Europeans and our own personal role inside Europe. I think that this year will be even more important than other promotions have been for past students, because the bonds that you manage to establish in difficult times are sometimes even stronger than the ones you establish normally. And everybody that has faced difficulties, extreme difficulties, even fights in their own life, private or public life, can witness that. And I think that we will hear this in the words of Svetlana, that really honors us with our presence. And that is, if I can say so, a witness of a generation of women that have taken in their hands the destiny of their countries, hopefully so, bringing high the values that are the values that have always inspired Europe and the European Union and the unification process. Democracy, democracy, democracy. Nothing values more than that, I think, for us Europeans, but also fundamental freedoms, solidarity, rights, and participation of citizens. I think this is what is at stake. And this is also what was somehow at stake in Portugal at the times when Mário Soares was conducting his own political fights. I think that this ideal link is extremely interesting and extremely inspiring. We have a patron de promotion that was fighting for democracy in his country and for integration in the European Union of his country, and the two things were linked in the 70s. And we have here today in Natolin, but also ideally in Bruges, because we are with you today, a young woman that is fighting exactly for the same values, pluralism, democracy, rights, freedoms, in Belarus today, and at the same time for bringing a little bit of the European Union integration process and a little bit of Belarus inside the European Union. This is why I'm so happy and honored, first of all, of her presence, but also of the possibility of listening to her words, and obviously to pass to you, the students of the Natolin campus of the Mario Soares promotion, a personal message of gratefulness, gratitude, because I know it was not necessarily easy to choose to join the college exactly this year with the pandemic going on. I am sure that Eva and myself and all the professors and staff will make everything we can to make your choice a rewarding one. You will not regret it. And I would like to pass you a message of support, of solidarity, of friendship, and very much looking forward to be able to be physically in presence in Natolin, to exchange with you directly and personally, and work together through this year. So thank you very much. I will stop here because the basic rule of any ceremony is that you have only one keynote speech. And I'm very much looking forward to hear your words, Eva, and Svetlana's words that I am sure will be words of wisdom and strength. And we are living really times where this is needed. And I can invite all students to get inspiration from this all-women panel, I have to say, not a bad thing. And thank you very much again for this opportunity and for this opening ceremony of the academic year in Natolin of the College of Europe. Thank you very much.
Dear Federica, thank you very much for joining us. Rector Mogherini will stay with us online so we can continue our ceremony. Dear Ms. Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya, dear Rector Federica Mogherini, dear professors, dear colleagues, and dear students of Mario Soares promotion, those seated in this auditorium and those who are participating in this ceremony from other rooms. I have to admit that I have mixed feelings today. My thoughts are with our students that could not take part in this ceremony in person because of the sanitary measures. Nevertheless, I am so happy and proud of your unwavering cooperation, always involvement and commitment. Thank you very much. I know that it is not easy to be a student in 2020. But challenging times, as Rector Mogherini said, are also times for growth and development. Take it from me that any crisis is always destined to form lessons learned and some pages in our diaries. This is the mystery of time. Time and circumstances change constantly, thus during our journey the way might seem confusing and uncertain. But this highlights the importance of values, principles and ethics, for they are clear signs that shows us the right way. Real leaders are principle-driven and sensitive to the human condition. One of these leaders was Mario Soares, patron of your promotion. When we say Soares, we remember every Portuguese citizen who desired a better future for his or her own nation. The Carnation Revolution in the 70s, which started with a group of determined officers, created a wave of liberation and emancipation of the Portuguese society. This great change opened also the way for Portugal to join the European community. This year at the college we remember President Soares as a real leader who contributed abundantly to European unity through his vision, through his struggle, and through his perseverance. Later in the 80s, a similar way transformed Poland, my country. The workers of the Gdańsk shipyard gave an example of determination in their struggle for freedom, justice, hope and peace. 40 years ago, the Solidarność trade union was the embodiment of the struggle, as is obvious in its name. It was based on solidarity and human dignity, not political affiliation or individual interests. Perhaps that is why it attracted almost 10 million people, becoming the largest social movement in history. Today, dear Ms. Tikhanovskaya, we welcome in you, in your dear person, many Belarusian citizens with their courage and sacrifice. Your nation is writing a new chapter in a history of struggle for freedom and democracy. I welcome you today as a symbol of peaceful revolution, as a reminder of the power of people. We don't know what will happen tomorrow in Belarus, but the image of brave Belarusian women facing guns with flowers will always be a reminder of the value of symbols. They stood bravely, ready to be arrested, exiled, beaten and jailed. They proved that everyone can make a change and that the will of the people is stronger than violence. This is why every European and everyone with faith in human dignity, freedom, peace and justice feels a sincere commitment towards the Belarusian cause. These three revolutions, in the 70s in Portugal, in the 80s in Poland, and today in Belarus, have a lot in common. But above all, they are linked by their ethics, non-violence and peacefulness. All of them changed the local political scene, but they also made their mark on history and inspired other nations. In Natolin, for several years, we have focused scholarly efforts in conducting research on revolutions and social movements, and we hosted here the heroes and leaders of the most remarkable events in the European neighborhood. So, dear students, today's ceremony is the part of this tradition, but our aim today is not to produce an academic paper or analyze a social political phenomenon. We are gathered here today to provoke questions in your minds about the values and ethics that stand behind revolutions and the transition of power. All great leaders dared to transform reality. They struggled through adversity not to gain power, but to fight for what is right. The choice to devote one's life to monumental change is neither simple nor safe. But remember, a ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are built for. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we invite you now to watch a film on the current revolution in Belarus prepared by Bielsat.
Alexander Lukashenko has been ruling Belarus already for 26 years. He's been eliminating everyone who poses threat to his personal power. This resulted in the situation when there were no real opposition candidates at the previous presidential election in 2015. The regime was preparing to repeat this experience in 2020 and to have another silent re-election of Lukashenko for another 5 years. But the series of events in 2020 broke these plans. The COVID-19 pandemic, Russian pressure for closer integration, decrease in the level of well-being of the population resulted in a huge political presidential campaign. Probably for the first time in history, Lukashenko faced rivals having bigger rating than him. Viktor Babaryka, former head of Belgazprom Bank, Valery Tsapkala, former head of High Technologies Park and ambassador to the United States, as well as popular blogger Sergei Tikhanovsky, launched bright political campaigns and gathered a significant number of supporters. Soon, all of them were out of the political process. Babaryka and Tikhanovsky are still in jail, while Tsapkala was forced out of the country. After the arrest of Sergei Tikhanovsky, his wife Svetlana, the mother of two, decided to run for president instead of him. Tikhanovskaya was registered as the only presidential candidate representing a real alternative to the authorities. The teams of Babaryka and Tsapkala joined Tikhanovskaya's campaign to go to victory together. That's how the Belarusian trio was formed. Maria Kolesnikova and Veronika Tsapkala joined Svetlana Tikhanovskaya. This new team traveled all over Belarus and were gladly met in all cities and towns of the country, gathering huge manifestations.
Вы устали бояться!
The election of August 9, 2020 broke this wonderful picture. All the people gathered to demand the results of the elections and to express their willingness for changes in the country faced unmotivated police brutality. In the next 3 days, mass terror overwhelmed the country. The regime captured, tortured, and killed people all over Belarus. More than 11,000 people were detained. Around 1,000 cases of torture by the police are already confirmed. At least 5 people were killed during and after the protests. The response from Belarusians to the regime's brutality was completely asymmetric. Thousands of people were forming the solidarity chains all over the country. They were smiling, waving national flags and carrying flowers. Every day, one can see such big and small manifestations. People meet with their neighbors in their yards, organize concerts, sing songs, and dance. They hoist national flags, create installations, and paint big murals in national colors here and there. The regime tries to destroy all these manifestations of people's activity, but they emerge again and again. Since August 9, every Sunday, people all over Belarus gather for peaceful marches in their cities. Another phenomenon of Belarusian protests is their female face. The women play the main role from the time when Lukashenko started to put his political opponents in these elections in jail. Being hardcore sexist in his nature and openly saying that a woman can't be the president of Belarus, Lukashenko never took Svetlana Tikhanovskaya seriously. Now Belarusian women took active part in the protests all over the country. Every Saturday is marked as a Women March Day. Women carry flowers, present them to passers-by, sing songs and smile to people. At the same time, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya is representing Belarusian people at the highest international level, meeting with foreign leaders and actively communicating with civil society within the country. It is civil society of Belarus that has excited the whole world. Its fast development and high determination have shown that Belarusians are truly a part of the European nation's family. Despite the ongoing repressions against media, politicians, activists, and ordinary citizens, the protest activity is growing. The Lukashenko regime is still in power, but the people have changed. It is clear that Belarus will never be the same again. Maria Kolesnikova, Veronika Tsapkala, and Svetlana Tikhanovskaya have been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Ladies and gentlemen, It is with great honor and pleasure that I now invite our guest, Mrs. Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya, leader of the Democratic Belarus, to deliver today's keynote address. Please, Madam. Thank you.
Dear Honorable Rector, Vice Rector, distinguished professors and honorable guests, dear students of Maria Suarez promotion, it's a true privilege to open a new academic year at the College of Europe, a renowned institution that prepares future European leaders. I'm honored to stand in front of you today, share my ideas, and most importantly, speak about Belarus. I'm here first and foremost as a Belarusian who wants positive changes for my country. Today, I will tell you 3 stories. The first one is about true heroes of a new Belarus. Then, I would also like to share a few insights into the foreign policy aspirations of a democratic Belarus. I will conclude with my private story. My country is going through the most serious political, social, and humanitarian crisis in its recent history. Belarusians have been living under an autocratic regime for 26 years. And while we had tried to change the status quo before, this summer the people said decisive no to the falsified elections and repressions. This year, Belarus emerged as a freedom-loving European nation and its people as a true heroes. Heroes who fight for justice and their rights. I am proud of the Belarusians' demonstration in incredible heroism every day for over 2 months. The whole world is impressed and moved by the bravery of the Belarusian people, who continue their peaceful protests against violence and the stolen election. They are tired of lies, manipulations, propaganda, and disrespect for their dignity. They have a dream of a new democratic Belarus where their rights and freedoms are respected. This is a story of unity, solidarity, and courage. The unity of the whole society in the aspiration for change is evident. Our protest movement is extremely inclusive and diverse, and women play a crucial role in it. The strength and vulnerability of Belarusian women challenge the regime's violent rhetoric and methods. Workers, teachers, doctors, scientists, students, they all came together in this strive for change. Solidarity is what makes us so strong. It can be noticed in the acts of everyday heroism, putting out white, red, white flag, going to a Sunday march, lining up at a flower shop whose owner has been brutally beaten by the police, standing in a solidarity chain, attending court hearings to support the people you have never met before, meeting someone's eyes in the protest crowd and knowing that you are here for the same reason. Our senior citizens also joined the protest. They are an incredible example of courage to the younger generation. One of them is the inspiring Nina Baginskaya, who is a real symbol of protest, persistence, and authenticity. People with disabilities demonstrate that their abilities are limitless in the fight of the country and convictions. Belarusians are protesting despite the fear of being injured, fired, expelled from the country, and even murdered. Thousands have been detained for peacefully expressing their views. Hundreds have been tortured and mutilated. Nevertheless, within a week after the election, around 200,000 people marched in the streets of Minsk under our white, red, white flag. And every Sunday since, thousands demand their constitutional right to freely elect their leader to be respected. We want to decide the future of our country and choose our representative on the international stage. While several opposition leaders were forced to leave country, including myself, and others were arrested on fabricated charges, every Belarusian stepped up to become a leader and a hero in their own right. This year's presidential campaign was like no other, marked by unprecedented level of civic engagement. Many tried to become members of local election commission to make sure that the due process was followed. However, fewer than 1% of independent members were registered. Many tried to become independent observers, but the regime put various hurdles in place to prevent them from carrying out their duties. Then several initiatives, such as independent exit polls and digital platforms, emerged to ensure an alternative vote count. Based on their data, we can confidently say that the announced election results have nothing in common with the reality. The system cynically stole people's votes. The events taking place at the moment do not mirror the election results published by the Central Election Commission. Someone who received more than 80% of votes doesn't need to organize a secret inauguration or get a photo op with a rifle. Someone who received 80% support does not need to use lethal weapons and brutal force to win people's hearts and minds. Someone who received 80% vote would be warmly welcomed by the majority of the population and would publicly celebrate his victory. Election and referenda in Belarus haven't been recognized as free and fair since 1996 referendum. This is when the constitution was amended and powers were redistributed in favor of the president. The unconstitutional referendum eliminated all meaningful political competition and excluded the opposition from the decision-making. The regime truly believed that the sixth term will follow the same template of falsifications and it will be enough to secure its stability. However, the new generation of Belarusians has emerged in the meantime. They cannot be easily deterred by the regime. They have access to various sources of information and they want to participate in the political life of their homeland. They are heroes of a new democratic Belarus. This new generation, the Belarusian students, fight every day for their freedom and future in spite of detentions, humiliation and threats of expulsion. Unfortunately, academic freedom is not respected in Belarus. All the university rectors are appointed by the head of state, and the student self-governance is practically non-existent. In Belarus, you can be expelled from the university because of your political views. Your favorite professors can be fired because they do not share the state ideology, and this system doesn't tolerate alternative opinions. In Belarus, you can be detained because you are marching, singing, sitting on the stairs of your university, or clapping as a sign of protest. You can lose your place in the student residence if you do not participate in early voting or if you support an alternative political force. In Belarus, students learn to be a brick in the wall instead of asking inconvenient questions. We are proud of our students who love their country and, despite all of this, every day organize solidarity protests to support the movement and a better future for Belarus. Belarusian Uprising is a pro-Belarusian movement that doesn't put the geopolitical choice of our country at its core. All Belarusians cherish the sovereignty and independence of our country as our most important values. We would like to maintain friendly relations with all our neighbors and international partners. The cooperation between a democratic Belarus and the EU will be based on our shared values of rule of law, democracy, and respect for human dignity and equality. The democratic Belarus and the EU will be able to move forward in our cooperation in all the areas, including political, economic, and cultural. Belarus needs to diversify its foreign policy in order to increase its strategic autonomy and independence. Today's policy doesn't any longer serve the national interest of the country. Instead, it serves the personal interest of one individual to preserve the power by all means. For many years, Belarusian autocratic rule has been the main obstacle to a harmonious development of the EU-Belarus relations. The legal framework is still governed by the outdated agreement concluded between the USSR and the European Community more than 30 years ago. Is this the Belarus can do? Is this the best the EU can do? Belarusians definitely deserve better. The ambitions of one person and a small group of elites to stay in power shouldn't deprive the whole nation of developing constructive relations with its neighbors and strategic partners. Today's Belarus is not the same as 10 years ago. Belarusians are tired of being warned against external enemies and color revolutions. They want to build a new democratic country viewed as a reliable international partner. The country where diplomats will not be forced to leave the service because they condemn the violence or refuse to accept the falsified election results. The country where a leader is bound by the people's will. The Natolin campus specializes in the EU neighborhood policy. The experience of transition that Central and Eastern European countries went through is extremely relevant for Belarus. That's why it's very important that Belarusian students study at the College of Europe. Dear Belarusians, please remember that in a new democratic Belarus, your knowledge of European policies, your analytical skills, and your passion for the European idea will be highly demanded. We want you to work for the betterment of our country. It's our duty to create conditions back home so that each person's potential and talent can blossom. And I will finish with my personal story. Maybe not all of you know, but it all began this spring when my beloved husband, Sergei Tikhanovsky, was excluded from the presidential race and later imprisoned. I felt compelled to stand up for him and decided to run in his place. I didn't have any political experience or ambition. I didn't have a conventional base or the reputation required for entering politics. I wasn't even sure that I would have enough strength or courage to go through with the campaign. But I had no choice. I had to do it for Sergei and for my country. I was allowed to run for president only because I was viewed by the regime as an unlikely competitor. However, I was joined by two admirable strong women, Maria Kolesnikova and Veronika Tsepkalo, and we showed the regime that they were mistaken. Maria and Veronika represented two alternative candidates, Viktor Babarika and Valery Tsepkalo, who were not allowed to compete for the presidential office, like my husband. Together with these brave women, we rallied across the country. An incredible number of Belarusians supported us and gave us inspiration to go forward. They were our main motivation to continue, despite all the challenges and threats from the authorities. We were running against the system that had mastered the art of manipulating public opinion and election rigging. The system that is used to oppressing the freedom of speech and depriving its opponents of fair campaign opportunities. The system that practices arrests and detentions of opposition candidates and eliminates its most popular opponents. The system where all the branches of power are subordinate to one person, and where the parliament is composed of hand-picked regime supporters who do not care to defend the interests of people. The system where personal loyalty to authorities is valued higher than professionalism and skills, where torture can be used to silence the whole country. And while there are 500 documented cases of torture, not a single investigation into police violence has been launched. The system that seemed unbeatable for almost 3 decades, but is now falling apart under the pressure of peaceful protest. This election campaign also became my story on personal transformation from a wife, mother and teacher into a symbol of the awoken Belarus that wants freedom and justice. I'm deeply touched and honored that my personal story, full of struggles, inspired so many Belarusians across the country. I have only one piece of advice to give you based on my personal experience. Do things you love and out of love, out of true conviction and dedication. Go forward regardless of your fear or what others might say. Sometimes our lack of experience and preconceived ideas can be our main asset. Often we tend to underestimate our inner strength and ability to learn new things and adapt. You never know what future might have in store for you. You never know how many people's lives you might be able to touch and change, apart from your own. I would also like to ask you to be on the side of people of Belarus through these hard times. Talk about Belarus with your families and friends. It's never enough. Write research papers about our country. Engage with politicians on the situation in Belarus. Join solidarity protests with your fellow students. You can also put in place your own initiatives to support the Belarusian civil society. The history is being made in the Belarusian streets, and you can become a part of this story and make your voice heard wherever you are. Dear students of College of Europe, freedom is the main European value. Please cherish every single moment of the freedom this institution gives to you. This freedom shouldn't be taken for granted. This is something thousands are fighting for in the neighboring Belarus. You have an opportunity to learn from the most prominent professors. You will also learn about other cultures and countries from your fellow students. I believe in you. You can build bridges between different nations. The future of Europe in your hands. Long live Europe. Long live Belarus.
Madam Cichanouskaya, thank you very much for your timely, inspiring and very touching speech. Thank you once again. We will now connect with our other conference room here in Natolin for a musical intermezzo by a Belarusian singer, Mrs. Tatiana Trojanovska. Thank you.
Ось як тепер передо мною встає куточек той пригора, книжки пузенькой ножа, мелкой пары с двойною, обнявшись тесно над водою, играла спокойно, в окошний вечер расставал. Люблю тебя, мой первый
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite now our student representative, Ms. Sara Ruiseñor Garcia, here to the stage, who will give the note of thanks on behalf of the Natolin student community. Sara.
Madam Vice Rector, Madam Tsikhanouskaya, dear friends, it's an honor to stand here before all of you and represent the voice of our classmates, colleagues, and friends. To you, my dear Natolinians, we are the future. Our patron, Mario Suarez, couldn't express it any better. Today's youth are tomorrow's men and women. Talking about youth means turning to the future. During the first week, we said to ourselves, what I'm doing here, am I good enough? Is it my place? I know, I asked myself, even when I was writing this speech. The answer is emphatically yes. We are where we're meant to be. We were brought here together to be the change that we want to see. We have been selecting for a reason. What unites us is a common purpose, the future of Europe in our hands. It doesn't matter where you come from or what your background is. You may have studied international relations, engineering, linguistics, even business management. We are here because we believe in change. We are here, we will learn to be the voice of the voiceless and to support those who are fighting alone. This is not only a master in European studies, this is a lesson for life. Europe is an unfinished adventure with room for everyone. Our beloved Madam Vice Rector likes to remind us, it's a small world after all. Bruges family, so far, yet so close. We all in this together. Your determination to rise above the circumstances motivate us. Let's continue to enrich our legacy, and hopefully we will meet you soon. In only a few months, we have been see how our efforts together can make a difference. The past few weeks, especially, has been a roller coaster. Let's recognize our standing Natolinian family and how all cooperate to create a safe environment. Thank you to our administrations, resident staff, canteen members, And especially thanks to my fellow students and friends for keeping up the spirit of the College of Europe high, with activities such as trivia, movies, and, well, all the social distance activities. We have created networks of support in difficult times and learned a valuable lesson. If you have the power to make someone happy, do it. Be the change, be the difference, be the inspiration. You can always predict when you will be able to make the difference. So approach life and others with an open heart. On this note, on behalf of our entire promotion, we would love to convey our thanks to Madame Tsikhanouskaya for joining us today. Each of us here at the College of Europe greatly appreciates your presence. We all admire your effort to share a message of hope internationally amidst the ongoing struggles in Belarus and the global pandemic. It is an honor for us to have you here. You represent more than freedom and democracy. Women like you demonstrate our generation the importance of determination and dedication to progress. Dear friends, never forget what your purpose is. As Seneca used to say, if one doesn't know to which port is sailing, no wind is favorable. Do not lose sight of the great picture. Turn your passions into something real. And even when the game gets tough, never stop and fight for what you believe. Natolin pour un jour, Natolin pour toujours. Dziękuję. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. May I now ask our choir to take again its place. Ladies and gentlemen, you may rise. Our choir will now perform our academic anthem, Gaudeamus Igitur.
You can sit down. Vivat Academia, vivat professores. The academic year 2020-21 has been opened. Let me thank Ms. Tsikhanouskaya, dear Svetlana, and Rector Mogherini for your addresses to students today. They will stay with us for long. We might be living in difficult times, many people underlined that today, but the moments like this, during such moments like this, it is crucial to seek inspirations. Change is the word which was repeated today so many times, but we have to remember that change happens when we have the courage the courage to dream about a better world. I would like to thank all of you, those in this room and in other rooms, for joining us today and wish you all the best. Before saying thank you, I would like to say that still there is one last element of today's event. Mattia.
You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I guess that all of you know this sentence. So it is my pleasure now to introduce Mr. Jakub Lubowicz, who will delight us with a final musical performance, Imagine.
but we are not the only ones. Thank you for joining us today. All the best for all of you. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, this marks the end of our closing opening ceremony. May I ask you to remain in your place while the guest of honor withdraws? So thank you very much once again for your presence today, Madam Cichanowskaja. Thank you.